to do. And we thought that rather than throw actual numbers out there, because it can vary so much from project to project, we're just going to talk kind of in generalizations and give you some things to think about when trying to figure out your budget. And the first thing we'll do is go through what some of the really big ticket items are for a kitchen remodel. Of course, cabinets are going to be a significant part of your budget. And that's what we do at Mid-Cape, so we'll start there. The thing that you should really know about that, and we'll go into more detail in a subsequent webinar that's just about some of the cabinets and countertops and stuff like that, is that we have many different lines to choose from. They all have their pluses and minuses. We sort of look at it as a good, better, best. You know, even our least expensive product is a really good, solid product. There are definitely reasons that you might want to start at a better or even a best, and we can talk about that. But please don't let a limited budget make you think that you can't have a beautiful and functional and durable kitchen. We can do that in many different price ranges, and that's something we can talk about specifically. But regardless, whether your budget's $20,000 or, you know, $120,000, the cabinets are going to be a significant chunk of that. And then that leads to countertops also. While not as significant a chunk as the cabinets, it's still a pretty significant big ticket item in your budget. And we have the same kind of thing, good, better, best. Laminate is not done a whole lot, but it's a great option if you are running tight on your budget, because it's something that you can put in, and then 5 years later down the road, when you have some more money, you can take it out and put in the countertop that you really wanted. You know, and when we're helping people evaluate how to spend their budget dollars, I always recommend that you put as much as you possibly can into the cabinets, because those are going to be there for much longer than anything else in your kitchen, without being a real pain to pull them out. And if you need to downgrade, I would always downgrade on the countertop, because that can be swapped out later. Better would be a promo granite. Granite has come down a lot in price, so if you want something that's super durable and a solid surface, we have lots of great options in a pretty reasonable price range. And then quartz would be the best. It's a man-made material, but if you like the lighter colors and the marbles, it's really much more durable and much easier to take care of than natural stone is, especially in a high-wear area like the kitchen. So then another big piece of your budget is going to be the labor, and that can be really, really variable depending on what you're doing. If you're at a low budget but your cabinets are completely falling apart and owe you nothing anymore, the best way to keep your budget down is to keep your layout primarily the same. And when I say that, I mean keep your stove, your range, and your sink in the same place. The rest of it we can kind of play with and make storage and work out much better for you. And then we'll just talk about a few changes that people make from sort of simple to more complex, that as you go up in the more complex, it adds both money and time to your budget. So the next thing would be just moving plumbing and electrical. You don't like where your sink is, you don't like where your stove is, you need to make those major changes. That will add some expense to your project, but not a super amount. So we always encourage people to think about ways to make their kitchens better as long as they're going through all this expense. Then after that, sometimes people want to move walls, remove walls, open up your kitchen. That can add expense for a number of reasons. The cost of moving the wall will add both cost and time. It may involve moving plumbing. If plumbing is coming from upstairs to downstairs through there, it very likely will involve rerouting some electrical stuff. And if you are not planning to touch your floors, you will have to at least patch in where you move the wall, or maybe replace your flooring entirely. So all of that adds expense and time. And then you can get into real architectural changes, like you want to move some windows or add some more windows. Natural light is beautiful to have in a kitchen. So that's a really good way to really change the feeling of your kitchen. If if it feels small and dark, if you add a few more windows, but it also adds expense and time to the process. And then other major architectural changes, like a full addition. You know, sometimes people want to add actual footprint space to their home, and that is sort of the most expensive way to go about it, but it also will create the largest changes. And then it's a good idea to sort of think about everything else. Everything there are not big ticket items by themselves, but they can add up to quite a bit of money at the end of the project when you're already spent. So there's plumbing fixtures to keep in mind, lighting fixtures, backsplash tile, hardware, pulls and knobs for your kitchen. And of course, there's all levels of that. Some of that stuff can be also swapped out really easily. So if you're just out of the budget and tapped out, you can put something real cheap in and then swap it out later. But it's definitely something to keep in mind that, you know, you're going to need some money for that even after you figure all the other stuff out. And then I just wanted to mention also, though, that, you know, even though spending the money is definitely not the most fun part of this process, return on investment on kitchens and baths is usually pretty good. So if you spend your money wisely and make some good choices, if you ever go to sell your house, or if you want to sort of reappraise your house to roll the cost of the kitchen into a refinance or something like that, people do really well with kitchens. So it's a good place to put money into your house. And then the only other thing that you should really think about when considering budgeting, especially if you're on a tight budget, is trying to prioritize your needs versus your wants. You know, what kinds of things do you need to make this kitchen remodel worthwhile, to make it enough better that it's worth all the time and effort, versus what kinds of things would you really want, but you could maybe live without. And that is part of what we do as designers, is to help you navigate all those choices. So I'll turn it over to Donna to talk about, oh no, actually I'm gonna do that part, right? Yep. Forgot. We're gonna move on to what the designer does, and then I will turn it over to Donna. So why use a designer? As I sort of alluded to already, designers can really help you make good, sound decisions and sort of help you maximize your budget. So a good reason to use a designer is we've done this a lot and we have a lot of experience. And we use that experience, again, to help you just make good, sound decisions in what you're doing in your kitchen. We can help you evaluate all of your options and make smart choices. There are going to be a lot of choices that you need to make. Layout, colors, wood finishes. We sort of know how things hold up long term. We know how things work functionally from having done so many kitchens. We sort of know a lot of tricks to maximize your space. So you really get the benefit of all of that experience when you use a designer. And as I said before, you know, everybody has a budget. You really want to get the most value out of that budget, and we can really help you do that also. Something not to overlook is that, you know, we're also really creative and we have good design skills. So we can do something that's not just functional and a good value, but we can also help you make it beautiful. You know, use some tricks to help it maybe look more expensive than it is when you're on a budget. And then the other thing is that we don't just sort of like dump your cabinets off and leave you. We're with you for most of the process. We'll talk to your contractor and help make sure that your kitchen gets installed the way it's supposed to be installed, so that it looks like how you want it to look. We don't just sort of leave you after the cabinets are delivered. So I can also talk a little bit about how to choose a designer. It's a very personal thing. This is somebody that you're going to be spending quite a bit of time with. All of the designers at Mid-Cape are creative, they're capable, they're organized, they do really great kitchens. So just, you can kind of make sure that it's somebody that you hit it off with. Another thing you could do is look at past work and see if you like what their designs look like. You know, this is not necessarily like a lot of designers don't document every project that they do because we're really busy. I know I have that problem myself. But so I wouldn't get too stuck on saying, well, do I like that exact kitchen? But just look and see if you feel like they get it. You know, they do a nice kitchen, even if it's not your style. A lot of us can design in lots of different styles. And when we talk about cabinets, we'll show that a little bit more, sort of like what the different styles are and what are some of the things involved with choosing those different styles, modern, traditional, all that different kind of stuff. And then another thing that people another thing that really I wish people knew is how to help us help you. And one thing I really love is when people send lots of pictures, especially if there's a little note with it, like send me 800 pictures. I don't care. I'll look at all of them. And especially if you have a little note. I really love this shelf. I really love this door style. I really love this color. I really love this island. Whatever it is that you love about it, the more pictures and the more stuff you send to me, the more we can start to sort of get an idea of the pattern of what you like, because we're not going to usually, unless that's what you want, copy what you send to us. But if you send a few pictures, I can really get an idea of what you like and sort of what direction you want to go with. Also, we did mention budgeting before. It's really important to share that with your designer so that we know what product to put you in. There's upsides and downsides to all the products, and you know, we don't want to kind of start too high and blow your budget out, or start too low if you're really looking for something high end. So that kind of information is really useful to us. And also have some idea about basic appliance information. You don't have to have researched every range and figured out exactly which one you want. But if you know you want a gas range, and you know you want a 30-inch range or a 36-inch range, or you know you want a counter depth versus a full depth refrigerator, stuff like that is really important information to have at the outset, because it helps us sort of narrow down your design much more quickly rather than being all over the place. So, and also as far as what to expect from a designer, I'm going to turn that over to Donna now, because she has a whole talk about the process of doing a kitchen, and it involves, you know, what your designer's role will be in it. So now I can turn it over to Donna for the next part.
All right, thank you, Lisa. So my name is Donna Benoit. If you're just joining us, I'm one of the kitchen and bath designers in the Mid-Cape's location in South Dennis. And I'm going to talk to you about your timeline. So you decided you're going to do your kitchen. So this is kind of an overview of what that timeline will look like. If you look at the slide on the screen, that represents the second half of the timeline, and I'll go over that with you when I get to it, so you don't have to really concentrate on that right now. So first of all, you're going to meet with your designer. You're going to have many meetings with your designer. And this can be done in our showrooms. You'll need to make an appointment with your designer if you'd like to do so. At this point, Mid-Cape has appointments in the showroom, but they have to be scheduled with your designer. You can't just walk in. You could also do this over the phone with a designer, or you could do it virtually via Zoom, which we're doing now, or FaceTime or another platform. So there are ways to work around this. So your designer is going to ask you some questions, and he or she's going to gather information from you. Some questions they may ask are, you know, the project type. Is this a renovation, or is this a new construction or an addition? They may ask, is this your primary residence? Is it your second home or a rental property? This will help set expectations for the project. They're going to ask you about the scope of the work. If it is a renovation, are you going to be leaving it as is, or are you planning on taking walls down and moving plumbing? If it's new construction, you'll need to provide them with a set of scaled drawings to start with. They need something to start with. The other thing they're going to want to know is, when do you want to start this project, or when do you want to finish the project? And this gives your designer a sense of when things need to be completed to reach your goal. And they'll ask you if you're working with a contractor. And if you are, they'll probably ask you the name of that contractor, because they may want to touch base with them about your project and get some information about the project directly from them. Or you may need a contractor, and if that's the case, you know, Mid-Cape as a whole and the designers at Mid-Cape know a lot of contractors. And if you explain the scope of work that you need done, they'll be able to give you some names of contractors that you could contact directly, have a conversation with them about your project. Your designer is going to have to gather measurements. So pre-COVID, the designer would go out to your home and measure the existing conditions, see the space, and take photographs of the space. Now, your designer, we're not doing site visits as of right now, but you can, with the help of your designer, they can guide you through taking simple measurements of the space, and they'll walk you through it. Don't be afraid of it. It's pretty simple measurements. And with those simple measurements, they'll be able to start your design, as well as sending pictures of your existing space. And like I mentioned, if it is new construction, if you could send your designer a scaled set of drawings, and they'll be able to take all the information they need off that drawing, window sizes, door sizes, etc. So another discussion you're going to have with your designer is what you would like to achieve from this project. You should, and I highly recommend this, you should save images of things that you like. So when you meet with your designer, you're going to share those collected images with your designer. As Lisa mentioned, they're really helpful in understanding what you're looking for and what you want to incorporate into your design. They're also going to ask you about your budget. Lisa mentioned that. It's a good thing to tell your designer what your budget is, because they'll put you in the right line, cabinet line from the beginning. They're not going to put you in a higher or a lower, or they're going to put you where you should be so you can make decisions and it'll come out on budget. With your meetings with the designer, they're going to have you look at door styles, woods, finishes. You're going to give them your wish list. You know, I really want an island for people to gather around, or I want more storage. So give them your wish list of what you'd like to incorporate into the kit. If you could supply them with general appliance sizes, because they have to put something into the drawing to start with. They're not going to be set in stone. Maybe you decide you're going to get a larger refrigerator later. That's fine. You're going to discuss countertop materials. What are the pros and cons of countertop materials? The pricing of them. You'll talk about hardware. You'll talk about sinks, and you can discuss faucets. I mean, all of these elements are going to come together to make your kitchen. If you're in need of flooring or backsplash tile or appliances for your kitchen project, Mid-Cape has those items, and your designer can put you in touch with an associate that can help you coordinate those choices. And your designer, I've gone over to the flooring department to meet with my associate Mark, and with the customer, and we've kind of coordinated choices together. So it's helpful that Mid-Cape has all these things under one roof. So once your designer has gathered all this information and got to know you a little better, they're going to put together a design for you, or they may do it at the beginning to show you something to start with. It's always nice to have something in front of you that you can discuss. But they're going to put a design together, and then you guys are going to discuss that design. And you're going to tell your designer what you like and what you don't like about it, and they'll make revisions accordingly. So once you've finally decided on the final plan, and this is what it's going to be, and this is what I want, your designer will gather all of the documents together and meet with you and go over them in detail. They'll go all over the layout. You know, this is where your trash cabinet's going to be to the right of your sink. They're going to go over the layout in detail. They're going to confirm the door choice, the finishes, the countertops, everything, and you're going to sign off on these items. And at that point, if you guys can look at the slide on the screen now, from that point forward, your designer is going to order your cabinets. So a lead time from the time your designer orders the cabinets till they are complete can range from 1 week to 8 weeks, and it varies per manufacturer. When your cabinets are completed, it'll take about 1 week to coordinate shipping and having them delivered to your home. When the cabinets are delivered to your home, you're going to want to inspect them within the first 48 hours of receipt to see if everything is okay. This may or may not happen, but you don't want to open a box, have your installer open a box the day of and find out it's damaged or something. So you want to look at your cabinets and inspect them. Installation can take anywhere from a few days to a few weeks, depending on the size and the level of complexity. So you want to talk to your contractor about that. You know, how long will it take for you to install my kitchen? Once the base cabinets are installed, you're ready for template. You should allow about 1 week advance notice to schedule a countertop template. And then from template to install, countertops take approximately 2 weeks for them to make it and to install it. Once your countertops are installed, your plumber can come back and reconnect the sink, install your faucets and your dishwasher. And if you're tiling your backslash, it should be done after the countertop is installed. And then once that's done, you can create a punch list for your contractor and go over everything, maybe some final details you'd like to have him address. So that's kind of an overview of the timeline and what to expect once you started this whole process. So I'm going to go back to Lisa now. She's going to talk to you about choosing a contractor.
So choosing a contractor, we get a lot of referrals from contractors that we work with, but we also get a lot of referrals from people who've done kitchens with us before, people who see our ads in the paper, people who just drive by and wonder what's going on in there. So if you already have a contractor, that's great. If you don't have a contractor, you really kind of want to get on that as soon as you're starting your process, because good contractors often have a little bit of a wait. They have other projects going. So that will give you a good idea of schedule. And also, when we get to the point of ordering cabinets, knowing the contractor's schedule is important, because you don't really want to store your cabinets for very long. You want to order them pretty close to the time when you're going to be ready to put them in. So definitely you want to start looking for a contractor as soon as you begin the process. And if you're not sure where to start with finding a contractor, Mid-Cape has partnerships with lots of contractors who do really great work all around the Cape and Islands. Those projects often go really well because they're people that the designers have worked with over many projects, and we know how they like things. We know sort of their peculiarities for install, and it really goes a lot smoother when you can coordinate in that way. Although if you have a contractor that you love and you met and you want to use, that's great too, because we love finding new contractors to refer to other people. So it's also a good idea to interview more than one contractor, get references. You can look at their prior work and see, how good it looks. And also, it's also a good idea to get a few estimates and get an idea about how much this is going to cost. There can be a pretty wide variation in how much it's going to cost. It's a good idea to look at your estimate in a detailed way, because different estimates may include different things. So you need to be pretty clear about what your estimate includes and what it entails. Also, you want to ask how long the project would take. Bigger contractors that have sort of big crews on staff can be a little bit more efficient with time, but smaller contractors who do a lot of the work themselves can sometimes be a little bit more budget friendly, and it may take a little bit longer, but they still do great work and you'll still end up with a great product. So that's just some of the things to keep in mind when you're looking. And also, just like with a designer, different contractors have different sort of personalities and styles, and you really should get a good vibe from your contractor. And if you have any peculiarities about the way that you like to work, it's good to be upfront with that. When I remodeled my bathroom, I was clear with all the contractors I interviewed that I am very detail oriented and I'm very particular, and I'm a designer and I want things the way I want them, and I may sometimes ask you to make changes on the fly, and if that's not the way you like to work, then this is probably not the right project for you. And I ended up with a fantastic contractor who is, really laid back and happy to let me take the lead about things. If you're just looking for a project, you just want to pick what it looks like and get it done, then there's contractors who will do that for you. You just find someone who knows what they're doing, and you don't have to have that much involvement in it. You just get your project done. So it's good to just kind of know yourself and work with somebody whose personality meshes with you. And just always establish an open dialogue. You know, make sure you have someone you feel like you can talk to, you can discuss any concerns with, you know, who you feel like is going to do the best job for you. And like I said before, we have a lot of contractors we have a ton of experience working with, and we know they're great people. We know they do a really nice job on the project. They know that they can come to us to, you know, work out any issues that come up on the job site. So, you know, don't be too daunted by finding a contractor, but we don't know everybody. So if you have a neighbor or a friend or someone who's a contractor and they love them, please feel free to introduce us to them, because we always love to meet new people. There's been so much construction on the Cape and Islands lately. That lead time thing can really be a problem with people being very busy. So having a couple of people that we can ask around and give references for is always useful. So now we're going to come to the most fun part of this whole process, which is understanding your style and coming up with a kitchen that you love and reflects your personal taste and all that stuff. This is a part that people enjoy. So I'm going to turn it over to Donna to talk about that.
All right, thanks, Lisa. So before we move on to our next webinar, which is titled Decisions, How and When to Make Them, something you need to consider is, what is your true style? The kitchen is the heart of your home. I know it's cliche, but it really is. I mean, that's where people gather. You're going to spend a lot of time in this space, and it's important that it's a comfortable space to be in visually. And I think the best way to get across to your designer your style is to gather images of elements that appeal to you, whether it be by magazine clippings or electronic images. And they don't necessarily have to be kitchen related. You may find a texture or a color that you're drawn to, or maybe an element in a finished kitchen that you like. An example of, you know, you may have seen open shelving in a kitchen and you really like that. You want to incorporate that, or a wood hood. So save all of these images and present them to your designer with an explanation of what appeals to you in those images. Or maybe you've gone to someone's home and you're in their kitchen and you absolutely love it. Well, take note of what you like about that kitchen. What is it in that kitchen that you love? So your designer will then be able to take all these images and, after speaking with you, get a sense of what appeals to you. And this will help them guide you in the selection process. The selections that you're going to make that are going to reflect your style will include a door style, the wood, the finish on the cabinets, the countertop material you choose, its color and its finish, and hardware and faucets. So it may feel very overwhelming to have all these choices to make, but your designer is there to guide you through it all. They've done this many times, and they'll be able to guide you and have you be relaxed about the process. The goal is to create a space for you when it's all said and done that you're happy to be in and to share with others. So put yourself in the good hands of your designers and they'll get you through this process. And that being said, that concludes our presentation. Does anyone have any questions for Lisa or myself?
Excuse me if it changes the screen a bit. I am going to escape from here and so I can see the chat.
Yep.
Okay. Haven't seen any questions come in yet.
Maybe that means everything was super clear and nobody has anything said.
think that might be the case.
Well, we thank you guys for watching. In our initial webinar, it is for me. I don't know about for Lisa, but I think it went very well. We had a great team backing us up, so we hope to continue doing this on a weekly, if not bi-weekly basis for you guys.
Yes, and just so everyone knows, that webinar that Donna did touch on called Decisions, How and When to Make Them, that will be next Thursday at the same time. That's April 23rd at 11 a.m. And I will be sending out an email to all of you again, inviting you. And it looks like the recording worked. So if you can't make it, or it's not a good time for you, we should be able to send it to your email as well. So feel free to RSVP, and that way I can send it to everyone who didn't attend. So.
And also, if anybody has any ideas of things that you'd like to see us talk about that you think would be helpful to you, please reach out and let us know too, like what you think you'd like to see. So.
All right, everyone. Thank you.
I have a quick question.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Are most of your manufacturers currently producing products? Do you know?
Do you want to answer, Donna?
I know some have delayed lead times. Some haven't stopped at all, and I believe Wolf Classic is still producing, but some of them do have extended lead times. I'd say on average about 2 weeks added on to what their typical lead time is. So yes, it is something that we're going through. We all have to just understand that it is what it is, and we can make it through. The schedule just will change slightly.
Yeah, there are increased lead times for a lot of product, but also contractors. You know, the contractors are working in a safe manner, so they can't have 20 guys out on a job site working at once. So I think it actually kind of works with a little bit of extended lead time for installs and stuff like that. You know, because depending on how things go, and there's actually currently a construction ban entirely on the island, but depending on how things go, I know a lot of contractors that I work with over on Cape are, you know, taking their time with stuff to make sure that their crews stay safe. So the longer lead time doesn't really seem to be the holdup for anything. It just might take a little bit longer to get your project done in general, not just for lead time for cabinets, but everything is just taking a little bit longer right now. But they're still cranking away and they're still producing. In most states, construction stuff is considered to be essential. So all of the cabinet manufacturers are still up and running as far as I know.
Great.
Two other notes. One thing on our Mid-Cape website, midcape.net, we do have a COVID-19 tab, and there is a supplier page there with updates on our suppliers and their delays and whatnot. There's also a resources page there and a general COVID-19 updates page all through that tab. And lastly, I just wanted to touch on the fact that I think Donna mentioned it, but we are doing the virtual design appointments. You can find that in our kitchen and design page on our website as well. So you can sign up and schedule a virtual design with one of our many designers. They're all equally as lovely as Lisa and Donna, who you had today. So feel free to do that on our website as well.
And handsome. There's some males out there.
They're lovely too. And the other thing to mention is that because the Cape and Islands is a large vacation destination, that designing long distance is not something that's actually that new to all of us. We've all had customers where this is not their primary house, and we do a lot of work, you know, when they're at home in Chicago, New York, DC, wherever that is. So, you know, this is something that we're all familiar with. There's a little bit more restriction in getting into job sites right now, but you know, we have ways to get around that. But we've all been sort of, you know, talking to customers long distance and getting a lot of work done without being in the same spot for years now, just because of the kind of location that we're in. So.
Great, thank you. Well, everyone, it was a pleasure having you. Thank you again to Lisa and Donna, our lovely hosts for today. And we look forward to hopefully seeing you guys next week. And if not, thank you so much for joining us.
All right. Thank you all.
Thanks.